Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, but we're going to head a little bit north for this review to Karlstad in Värmland county, right on the banks of Vänern, and we're going to have a look at a beer from another brewery that I've never had anything from before, and I think this one should be quite interesting. It's one of my favourite styles of Belgian beer, and it's also got some local Värmlandsk hops in it. I didn't even know that they could grow hops that far north in Sweden, so should be quite interesting to try this one, I have to say. So for this review we are going to go to Bryggeri for the very first time, and we're having a look at their Belgisk Tripel today. So this one comes in at 9.7% ABV, so a little bit stronger than a number of the other triples that we've reviewed on the channel before, but like I say, some local Värmlandsk hops in this one, and that should make it pretty interesting actually. So really curious to see how this one turns out. Nice to have another Tripel and nice to introduce another Swedish brewery for you here on the channel. As I've told you before, the standard of homebrewing in Sweden is very high these days, and you're starting to get a lot of these breweries now turning commercial and professional. And you can really find some real gems from the very small Swedish guys. So I always try and make a point of reviewing some breweries that I've never had anything from before every month on the channel, because you can get some really good stuff through the local Osmoskaligt releases in Sweden. So this beer was released as part of the October 2020, and I think it was the 1st of October they released them all this month, and I got this one because it's a brewery I didn't know, and two because it's a style that I quite like. You don't see too many Tripels these days actually, but yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. It should make for quite a quirky beer and thus an interesting review, so I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this one as well. There's quite a few breweries in Karlstad these days, come to think of it. 10 Hands would be the other one, but there's somewhere in the region of 600 breweries throughout the whole country these days, and that's crazy when you think that Sweden is only about 10.5 million people actually. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do in the future from Bryggeri. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned, nearly messed that up there, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, on to my brewery notes to tell you a little bit about Bryggeri then. So Bryggeri, as I've mentioned to you already, are based in Karlstad in Värmland county, right on the banks of Vänern, and one of the great Swedish lakes. But the company was founded back in 2015 by Mikael Jakobsson, hence MJ. But the company has been co-owned by his aunt Elsa from the beginning, along with Lennart Johansson, and then in 2016 his brother Christian joined as well. So it is quite a family orientated business, this. So they started off with a 200-litre brewery, and they sold their beers just to local bars and restaurants in the beginning, but they got their beers into Systembolaget around the end of 2016. I want to say that they started selling them, and I think it's only recently that they've had them available nationwide rather than just in Värmland county. I think that's why I was able to order this one down here to Skåne. But they upgraded to a 500-litre brew kit around the time they got their beers into Systembolaget as well. That was bought from Bryggeri Fin from Landskrona here in Skåne, and the brewery itself is based in an old dairy premises. They had one area of this to start with, and then when they upgraded the brewery they moved into a slightly larger space. And as of October 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 12 different kinds of beer, and I think there's lager beers, there's pale ales, there's a couple of folk ales in there as well, and then they've got this one, the Triple. I think this is by far the highest alcohol, the strongest beer that they do actually. So yeah, I'm not sure if the October 2020 release was the first time this one had gone through Systembolaget or if it was a re-release, but I know that this beer has been around for a little while actually. October 2020 is not when this beer was developed for actually. So yeah, this one has been around a little bit, but I think only recently through Systembolaget. But like I say, I picked up this one because I like the style and it just kind of caught my eye. It was another brewery that I hadn't had anything from before. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Bryggeri for the moment. Very small brewery. But as I say, you can always find some real gems from these very small Swedish breweries in random places across the country, so that's why I always like reviewing these kind of things. But yeah, if you want to learn more about MU's Brewery, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Untappd, Rate Beer and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that they've done, but you'll find the brewery website in the video description below. But yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So, like I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 9.7% Belgian style Tripel, and it's hopped with hops grown in Värmland. It tells you on the side here, if you look at this, the hops are from Värmland's Humle, AB. So, or ABO actually. So yeah, you can see the artwork on this one is pretty nice. You know, I'm the most artistically illiterate person ever. It was always about music for me rather than design, but I have to say their design is quite, you know, simple and elegant, I have to say. There you can see quite clearly the MU's Brewery symbol. You can see a nice kind of plain bottle cap there, and it tells you a little bit on the side of the beer here as well. So it says, this Belgian Tripel is brewed with Swedish hops, with Swedish, with Swedish hops that are cultivated in Värmland. It is a full and fresh beer with tastes of hops and muscovado sugar. It works well with strong, spicy food, or that would be like a cheese platter maybe. So yeah, I'm not sure what Brikan exactly is, but yeah, cheese, basically saying it goes well with cheese, and that's kind of common for Tripels actually. But yeah, really nicely presented beer, this one. The two hops that are in this are, as I say, both Swedish varieties, and I hadn't heard of these before, so I did a little bit of research on them. So the two hop varieties are Hula and Karlstad. So Karlstad apparently originates in the village of the same name near Sundsvall. That was a big surprise to me, for me, because I thought, you know, that's even further north. I know that they grow hops, there's a few hop farms down here in Skåne, and I was surprised to find out there was hops in Värmland, and then even further north near Sundsvall. But this hop apparently gives an alpha acid of between 7 and 10%, and it gives you some grapefruit and citrusy flavours apparently. And then Hula, on the other hand, comes from Södermanland, or Sörmland as the Swedes sometimes call it, and this is grown from, it was originally grown by the Hula Nörgård, which is where it takes its name from, but this is in the middle of the historic Österåker hop growing region, which again I was surprised to learn existed in Sweden, but it gives between 6 to 10% alpha acid, and it's quite a herbal and citrusy hop apparently. So yeah, usually Belgian Tripels, from what I understand, they will use either a homegrown variety of Belgian hop, or they'll use something like Czech Žatec, Czech Sats, or like Styrian Goldings or Dana, something like that, a more kind of noble hop variety. So this should be quite interesting to see how these Swedish hops turn out actually. But yeah, that's a little bit of research on the hops, and I'd never heard of these varieties before, because I know the corner gardens down here in Skåne, they grow Magnum, and they do have a few of their own varieties, I think, that they've developed, if I remember rightly. But yeah, maybe they grow the Hula and the Karlstad as well. So yeah, that was pretty interesting to find out. But as you can see, we showed you the artwork before, it looks very nice. Let's get this guy out and get on with the tasting then. I'm really curious about this. As I said earlier, 9.7% is quite strong for a Tripel beer compared to some of the others we've had. I've had ones that are 8.5, 9 and so on, so yeah, 9.5 I think is a little bit strong, and this one we can see has behaved itself. One of the tricks that the brewers always use with Belgian beers, particularly, and it's notable particularly with the Quadrupel and the Tripel, because they're very strong, they're very high alcohol beers, but the mouthfeels are not as thick as you'll get from imperial stouts and, you know, stuff like this. They add brewing sugar to them, and that keeps the mouthfeel fairly crisp, but it also kind of builds up your alcohol percentage and just gives you an extra kind of layer of sweetness. So yeah, sometimes as a result of that, because these beers are usually bottle conditioned, they can go a little bit crazy when you open them up, especially if they're from little small breweries like this. But this one has behaved itself well, so well done to MU's Brewery for getting the conditioning of this beer right actually. Sometimes that can cause a wee bit of a problem. But yeah, it looks very, very nice, this one. This one's got a lovely kind of amber colour to it. You can see that it poured with about a quarter finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. That's faded away, as you tend to get with higher alcohol beers, but you can see that it's left just a nice ring, a nice sort of ivory coloured ring around the side of the glass there, but it looks very, very nice. So yeah, I do like how this one I do like how it goes together. It looks very nice. It looks kind of like a West Coast IPA in a lot of ways. I think this is one of the more amber leaning tripels that I've had. Sometimes they can be very bright and yellow, but yeah, sometimes they will have this amber kind of hue to them. It usually depends on what kind of sugar and malts and stuff they've used. As I've told you in various videos, the two things that affect the colour of your beer, well, there would be three, because adjuncts I guess would be one as well, but it's the length of the boil and the types of malts that you use, because the longer you boil the beer, the more the sugars caramelise, and the thing gets, it gets thicker, it feels thicker in its mouthfeel, and it also just turns a little bit darker in colour as well. But in terms of a tripel, one of the more amber leaning ones that I've come across, but certainly not out with the realms of possibility for this style of beer. So yeah, it certainly looks the part. Let's have a closer look at the aroma then and see how it got on. I have to say, very curious about this. Ooh, now you can smell a wee bit of a difference in the hops in there, but what I will say is that it's not, you can smell that these hops are certainly not like Slovenian or Czech as you would normally have with this style of beer, but it doesn't, it's not too different, if that makes sense. Yeah, so we'll cover the malt base first and we'll just examine the hops a wee bit more later. So on the malty side of things, this one, you can smell a bit of that kind of doughy yeasty thing that you would always expect from the Belgian style beer, that nice doughy bready yeasty thing. There's a wee touch of that almost kind of clovey spice coming out of this one, and there's a good bit of a kind of brown sugary note in there. It's got a straight up sweet caramel, but it's also got that kind of McVitie's digestive biscuity sort of thing, that kind of caramel wafer type vibe to it as well. So yeah, and it's interesting, the fruitiness comes across as really oily, and it's almost got that kind of dried, the yeast I think has given this beer a lot of that dried kind of apricot character, that sultana like quality, but again we'll come to the fruits a little bit later. So for me, nice kind of bready doughy yeasty base, a little touch of clovey spice to it I think, and there's a bit of a straight up sweet caramel like I said, and then you've got that kind of more biscuity, that more McVitie's digestive biscuity kind of caramel wafery type thing out of this one. Comes across as a very oily triple, this I think, in the aroma, but yeah, there's maybe one or two little woody undertones to this one as well I think, so I like how that goes together. Yeah, it does have a little bit of a phenolic type quality to it, but again we'll come to that when we get onto the fruity side of the beer. And remember, different yeasts and different malts and stuff and hops, they can all react differently together. Simcoe is a great example of that, the way it behaves in West Coast, New England and black IPAs, because it's completely different in all three. But yeah, the aroma of this beer, I have to say, is quite nice. It smells very clean as well, and that's one of the things you always get with the Nordic breweries, is their beers always smell very clean and almost very crisp compared to the ones that you would find brewed in Belgium. It's just the water quality. Water plays a huge role in beer these days, well, it always has. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things then, I like how this goes together. There's a wee bit of an earthiness to this one. Yeah, there's a wee bit of an earthiness there. There's a nice herbal quality to that. Like I said, that would be the hula that's giving you that kind of more herbal quality. And I think that's the thing that really kind of sets this apart actually, is the more herbal note that the beer has. The hops almost come across as being a little bit woody as well, to be honest with you, and I think that's what really has the edge on it. But at the same time, the grassiness on the nose is definitely brighter, I think, than either the Styrian Goldings or the Czech Žatec. It's the grassy notes for me are just a bit brighter. There's a wee touch of floral quality in there, which again you expect that from those more noble type hops, but I do think it's the grassiness is just a little bit brighter and almost a little bit more. It's almost just, the grass almost has a little touch of a slightly limey kind of note to it or something. So that's really interesting. Yeah, grassy notes are brighter. It's a bit more herbal on the green side of things as well, and you've got a little bit of a kind of softer earthiness. The earthiness is kind of what you would expect from either the Styrian Golding or the Czech Žatec. So yeah, the hoppy side of the aroma for me, it is quite different, and it has a similar profile to what you would expect. It fits with the beer well, but yeah, to me it does come across as a little bit different. So yeah, pay attention to that when you smell this beer. On the fruity side of things, as I said earlier, this beer to me has a little bit of that kind of medicinal phenolic kind of thing going on. You do get a nice little bit of a dried apricot, you get a little bit of that kind of sultana type quality out of this one as well. Quite a lot of pear comes out of this beer for me too, so maybe a little bit of an appley kind of thing too, and you do get a wee bit of that almost no, maybe lemon, it's maybe not quite such a strong lemon, but you get sort of, there is a wee bit of a kind of limey, zesty character for me on the very front of the nose with this one, but I would say the lime is quite minimal. You have to search for that really, but it's the apricot, the sort of sultanas, the dried white green grapes, and also the pear. Those are the most prominent things for me. There is a wee bit of an appley quality to this one too, which again you can expect of the style. But the aroma certainly comes across as really quite nice. The Värmland's hops give it a little bit of quirkiness actually, but let's have a taste of this and see how we get on. So this one is the Belgisk Tripel, Belgian Tripel, coming in at 9.7% ABV from Bryggeri in Karlstad in Värmland County here in Sweden. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, skål! That's nice. That is well done actually. It comes across in the flavour, the brown sugars come across as very big and oily. That's the first impression I had of this one. This, I think, could well be one of the more oily tripels that I've come across, and I think that suits it well. But yeah, I will say, this is very nicely done, so thumbs up to Brewery for this one. If they can do a tripel like this, I'd love to see them have a go at the quadrupel. That would be an interesting thing for them. I do wonder with this actually, because one of the things obviously these small hop farms, they might struggle to sort of supply regularly, I guess, when they're just kind of getting started. But I do wonder if this, you know, we're in October, so yeah, probably these hops have been harvested around September or whatever. You know, start of September. So I do wonder, maybe this beer is a seasonal. Actually, it didn't say anything on the website about it being a seasonal, but maybe that's the idea behind this one. Is this could well be a re-release. I honestly don't know. But yeah, I'd love to see them if they can do a tripel like this. I would say to MES, have a go at the quadrupel as well and do it with the local hops again, because it works. This works very, very nicely. So yeah, where do we start with this beer? What I would say about this one is that it does come across quite differently in the flavour to what you might expect when you take in the aroma. So yeah, for me, this beer, it has that clovey spice. I mean, you can feel that kind of doughy, yeasty, clovey spice kind of mix. That blankets the middle of your tongue, middle third of your palate, back third of your palate. And I would say that it doesn't come across quite as thick as you might expect it would from the aroma. It really... it builds up the further that you go into the... it really builds, that doughy yeasty kind of note builds the further that you go into the aftertaste with this beer, and I like that. You start to get some of these kind of banana-like flavours out of it as you go further into the aftertaste there. So yeah, middle third of your palate and back third of your palate, like I say, you've got that nice doughy, bready, yeasty thing coming out there. You can get some of the kind of clovey, spicy notes on it, but as you go, pardon me, towards the back third of your palate, it does get thicker and thicker and thicker, which I think is quite nice. You've got a nice kind of bready thickness to the beer. But yeah, you do get that nice kind of bready, you get a bit more of that kind of thickness to the beer on the back third of your palate. There are one or two little grainy elements, I think, on the back third of your palate, but yeah, back third of your palate is distinctly more thicker, and you get more of that kind of nice big doughy yeasty thing. But as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, you can feel the thickness of the beer just drops a little bit, and you have that kind of doughy yeasty layer, and that on top of that is when you start to get some of those nice brown sugary notes. So yeah, on top of the kind of doughy yeasty kind of thing and the spicy notes, there's that's when you get the more kind of oily, sugary layer. So in the very centre of your palate, there is a bit of a straight up caramel there, and as you move further out from that, you start to get more of those kind of biscuity, McVitie's, digestives things. But I would say that overall, the brown sugar that you get out of this beer is particularly oily. It's not such a crisp brown sugar as you can sometimes get from these tripels, and it's not the brightest of brown sugar either. Actually, it really just comes across as more syrupy and oily. I'd be curious to know what sugar it is they've they've actually added into this, because they did say it tasted like muscovado sugar, so I'm guessing maybe that's what they've put in here. And muscovado sugar, if I remember rightly, is a slightly it is a slightly more kind of oily, round brown sugar, rounded flavour brown sugar, if I remember rightly. So yeah. So yeah, that's something I do remember about. That's something that I do remember about this beer, and I do like how that how all of that goes together. To be honest with you, the brown sugars in this come across really nice. They do have a little bit of a boozy edge to them, in fairness, but I do like that. If you go to the front corners of your palate, then go diagonally back, there's a little bit of a woody quality to this one, which I think is very nice. I do get more of a woodiness coming out of this one the further on you go, but then the thing is, the woodiness actually forms a good bridge between the malty side of the beer and the fruity part of it as well. So let's focus on the hops and the fruitiness then. So yeah, back corners of the palate, there is a wee bit of a nice earthiness to it, but as you move further forward, it gets you can feel that nice herbal quality out of it from the hula hop. You really feel that there. Then as you reach the front corners of the palate, you can feel it is a little bit more kind of floral, if you like. So the floral notes you get out of this they're not spicy or anything like that. They actually come across as quite smooth and almost kind of slick in a way. So you'll notice that on the side of the palate as well. So you get the herb, a little bit of earthiness, kind of more herbally qualities, and then a bit of an almost slick floral aromaticity. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit more light and grassy. And as I said, the grassiness from these hops, it is a bit brighter, and it does almost have a little bit of a kind of zesty kind of thing going on. So I like how that goes together in this beer. So yeah, the grassiness in this beer strikes me as being quite nice and light, actually, and I really like how that goes together. So on the fruity side of it then, this is where this beer, I think, really sort of shines. I think that this is one of these beers where it's actually just very well balanced, and everything for me goes together really nicely. It is a very nice example of the style, actually, and it's quite different to other ones I've had before. That's probably why I like it so much. I like it when breweries, you know, you can get little nuances from brewery to brewery. But yeah, on the front third of your palate then, this is where you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So if you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you've got the kind of border region between middle third, front third of your palate. You do get a little bit of an almost kind of cakey quality to this one, but then as you move further forward into that, this is when you start to get a big oily sultana-like quality out of this beer. Then as you move further forward, it develops to be a little bit more kind of apricot-y. You do get a wee touch of that kind of phenolic cough syrupy type thing out of this beer, and I do like that for sure. I like how that goes together. But yeah, as you reach the kind of front part of your palate, you can feel more of the perry. You do get a lovely kind of perry ester out of this one. There's a wee bit of a Napoli quality to it as well, and like I said, on the front tip of your palate, you get a little bit more of a kind of zesty. There is a wee touch of an almost lemon-limey character to the grassy aspects of this beer. That's what really stands out about the Karlstad and the hula hop for me, is the whichever one of them's doing it. Maybe it's a combination of the two, but they really have quite a bright, almost zesty grassiness there. This beer is very bright around the very tip of your tongue, but the fruity notes are nice. Sultanas, you know, dried white green grapes, a little bit of an apricot-y quality, some you know, perry, a lot of a perry quality out of this one, a little bit of a Napoli character as well, and I do like how that how all of that goes together. So yeah, thumbs up to Emmi's Bryggeri for this. I think this is a really nicely done Tripel. So yeah, difficult style to get right, but I think they've done a solid job of this. Love to see them have a go at a quad. I think they need to do that on the basis of this one. Belgian Blonde could be an interesting regular beer for them to do as well, but they've got this one done really nicely, I have to say. And the Swedish hops definitely work well with it. As I say, a little bit different to what you get from the Styrian Goldings from Slovenia, or the Žatec from the Czech Republic. But yeah, lovely beer this, so I like it. Try it for yourself and see how you go on. If you like this style, you will enjoy this one. So yeah, In terms of the mouthfeel then, I think this is quite a full-bodied beer. It's at the bottom end of full-bodied. The carbonation is very smooth. It's got a nice big oily character to it. It's got a very, very kind of clean mouthfeel overall. I would say it's very slick actually, this one, and it just, as I say, it feels very clean. So yeah, bottom end of full-bodied, smooth carbonation, and quite slick in that sense. The how would we say, the mouthfeel of this beer is lovely. I have to say, it just suits it so well. It's quite a low bitterness beer. I think this one's probably about 20 IBUs. The malt base I think is very, very nice. Just quite smooth. You get that big yeasty character to it as well, which builds the further you go into the aftertaste. I think the yeastiness, it starts off fairly smooth, but then it builds as you go further in. Good little bit of brown sugary sweetness to this one, and some very nice more oily, fruity characters to it. As I say, I think about 15-20 IBUs, nice kind of smooth yeasty characters, a little bit of an oily brown sugar, and then some quite juicy fruits, but the fruits do have some oily characters as well. But yeah, this beer gets a big thumbs up from me. I have been impressed with this one, and on this basis I would be curious to try some of their other ones. I need to see what else I can get through Systembolaget from them. We'll try, I don't know what we could try next. Maybe we could try a more American IPA or something like that, but I'd love to see these guys do a quadruple. I think that's a very, very solid triple, this one. So a quadruple would be a very interesting thing to try from these guys. But yeah, let's leave it at that then. A really, really interesting beer to review, this one. I'm glad that I was able to get a hold of this. And I will need to keep an eye on this brewery, I guess, and see when they release new stuff. And the Värmland's hops, I think, have turned out pretty nicely in this as well. So yeah, definitely a Tripel with a little bit of a Värmlandsk edge to it, which worked out quite nicely. So yeah, let's leave it at that then. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from MES Bryggeri as well. We will return to these guys at some point. I'm going to keep an eye and see what else they're releasing and what I can actually get from them. But yeah, I think this was a very, very nice beer actually, so thumbs up to this brewery. As I said to you, you can always find some real gems from the very small Swedish breweries, and I think this one has turned out to be just that. So yeah, check out MES Bryggeri and have a go at this Belgian Tripel if you get the chance. If you like the style, I think you will enjoy this one. So yeah, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you guys very soon. The Belgisk Tripel, 9.7% ABV with the Karlstad and Hula hops from Sweden, grown in Värmland County. This beer coming to you from Karlstad in Värmland County as well. Slange, skål, cheers, check out MES Bryggeri, and I'll see you in the next review.